But we want to get to New South Wales and what happened. Now, I've been receiving text messages from the start of kickoff till right now from fans all across the country about New South Wales. They're in shock. They couldn't believe the result, as most of us couldn't as well. Where did they go wrong?
We got an hour and a half. Look, I'll just say this. I've been trying to get Dave Trodden, the CEO of the New South Wales Rugby, the last 2 hours. He won't pick up. But after that performance last night and the first half in Perth, I think we do need a full review of the series, and which will involve the coach. You look at the staff Laurie was given: Frank Panisi, Craig Bellamy, Dean Young, Matt King, Brett White. And it was an unlosable, in my opinion, an unlosable series. If you match the players 1 to 17 against each other, our side's worth more. I'm telling you it is, but we did not turn up. And look, Braith, I looked at each half of the... Queensland only won 2 halves, the whole series, but those 2 halves they won, they absolutely blasted off the park. And we need an explanation. All the people who are texting you, every fan in New South Wales, we need to do a full review into what went wrong.
Well, what do you think, Buzz? Why'd they lose?
It's a really hard one to explain because, as I said on paper, we're a better football side. In hindsight, it's easy to come in the next day and say, oh, should Luai have been 5'8"? Hasn't been setting the world on fire at the West Tigers. Would Matt Burton, who's been sensational for the Bulldogs, been a better option there? Do you even go further and look at someone like Ethan Strange at Canberra? He's got that side of it. He's a 5'8". You've got to look at Max King. You've got to look at the loss of Barnett in the front row. Really, really tough dude. And Max King, as a starting prop, couldn't duplicate what he did. As I said, you could spend an hour looking at it. The bottom line is it comes back... I don't want Laurie to go. I think Laurie deserves another chance.
Why?
Just let me, before I say why, it is a coach's responsibility to ensure the team is presented for every game ready to go. And the last 2 games, they were not ready to go. They were flogged in the first half. Why does Laurie deserve another go? Because he's only had 1 year. And as I said, you go, and you'll bag me, Gordy will bag me. No, in Perth, we only lost that game on goal kick. We scored 5 tries to 4. I'm not excusing the pathetic first half performance, but it's a fact.
You can't excuse it.
I can't.
Yeah.
What, do you want to sack him, Heaps?
No, I think the biggest concern, and plenty of very good judges have said it, is that after a terrific performance in Game 1, they saved their worst for last, and they got progressively worse over the course of the series, and it is a 3-game series. As the games went on, the Blues got worse, and they didn't take their lessons out of Game 2. They missed the kick at the beginning of Game 2. They weren't dialed in on the same emotional level as what the Maroons were. And then in Game 3, it was a very similar story. The Maroons just came out. Their line speed was phenomenal. The way they were rushing New South Wales's halves in defence and cutting down their time and space was on a different level. And we didn't appear to have a plan B. Joey Johns said that in commentary.
I spoke to Joey after the game.
He said that Nathan Cleary at the moment, he hasn't got enough time in terms of what they're trying to create.
I just think, like Laurie, he hasn't got the best record, right? What's it, 0 and 4 in deciders. 2 of those are in Sydney. If you look at the 3 games, they were good in Game 1 without being great, and we thought, they're only going to improve, so they should win the series. They got blown off the park in Game 2, and we could excuse that. They just missed the jump. They come back and nearly won. And then yesterday, at home, they lose the unlosable, and they weren't even close, but this is the thing. They weren't even close. Last night, the crowd was silent because they were taken completely out of the game, and they didn't look like winning. They barely fired a shot.
No.
Now,
we've all had one of those performances. Is that the players?
Well, it's a combination of the players, yeah. Let's have a look at the moments that I think led to the Blues being in trouble last night. And it started with Luai. This was the first... Well, it wasn't the first set, but it was early on in the game. They were actually dominating. This was the only time they really dominated, was the first sort of 10 to 15 minutes, and that was... They just made a half break down the right-hand side, went to the left, and you just got to get those moments right. This one right here was costly. They didn't see the ball or get good field position for a long while after this. This is what started the Queensland juggernaut. Now, the next one was big. Later in the game, we got to within reach. We were starting to get on top of them. And then on tackle 4, which wasn't a bad option from Crichton, but it said a lot about where we were at. We kicked the ball. It looks like we're going to get a repeat set of 6. We're building pressure. Look where Coates picks his ball up. Look at our chase. Look at the chase here. Like that was the end of the game right there. That's when it was over. And Queensland were everywhere last night. They were chasing every ball. And then the Harry Grant try. This, again, quick play the ball from Din, which he done on night. He threatens, he plays square, which we didn't. And then off the back of that, a quick play the ball. But still, look at the numbers we've got there. Like, that's when I thought, you know what, we're in big trouble. That was a bit earlier on. But, there's probably a couple other moments. But the reason Queensland won is they hunted like a pack of hyenas. Their speed of the line was relentless. It was ruthless. They were in our face. And we didn't adjust. We did not adjust. This is a bit of their play. Watch this. Now, Dearden's up in Luai's face, giving them no time and space. If you look on the outside here, they've actually got numbers, but we didn't adjust. New South Wales didn't adjust until the second half. Again, here, look at, this looks quite simple, but Cleary's pretty flat. They're up in our face, pressure. Everything was rushed with our attack. Our halves at no point really gave themselves enough time and space. Again, here you'll see Dearden and Munster was doing on the other side. And again, Cotter there. They just limited our time and space, and we just didn't adjust. And I'll show you the difference. Just have a look at Cameron Munster and Dearden in these clips. This is Munster. Look how deep they are. Now look where Dearden is, and look where Munster is. And now play the tape. He's next to you there, Munster, Buzz. And then out the back, watch. He takes off late. Just gives him that extra couple of steps to throw the pass. Yes, Lomax should have made the tackle, but because of that. And you'll see the defence of New South Wales they're really passive. They're passive on the edges because Queensland are coming at them at speed. Watch them get the ball on the run at the advantage line. They've got 2 or 3 metres to play. New South Wales had nothing. So it's a combination of more depth in attack and then not enough speed of the line. New South Wales continue to the next one. And again, it just rolls on. We'll just show this last one. This was Dearden, and it was the leader. This is the last play. This is a simple last play, but look at the passive defensive line. Dearden's just going straight. He's playing direct. He's playing square. He's threatening the defensive line. It was chalk and cheese. So, and this takes me back again. It's a combination of the players, but it's also a combination of coaching. But that's what Jay was talking about too.
I've heard plenty of champion players say over the years that you can get a good barometer of how much a team is invested and dialed into the contest by the effort areas, kick chase, by how many jumpers are in the frame when it comes to trying to cut off a desperation try at the last second. Yes, Zach Lomax made a bad defensive decision early, but I think you can actually go back to when Mitch Moses got injured in camp in game 2. And Mitchell's style of being a halfback, Braith, and you can speak to this a lot better than I can, seems to suit State of Origin football better than what Nathan Cleary's does at this point in time. And, Nathan has had a number of cracks. He's now 0-3 in series deciders. He is a champion player, out-and-out champion at club level. But for whatever reason, the Pantherised style of attack, it's come unstuck a couple of times now. This isn't the first series that we've lost off the back of trying to emulate a system that's worked at Penrith but hasn't been able to translate into State of Origin. And a huge part of that comes back to the coaching.
Yeah, you got to play square, you got to play direct, and you got to run the footy in Origin, and then you get the quick play.
Nathan couldn't.
You know what I reckon cost Laurie the second half comeback in Perth, because what that did, it covered up the need to make changes. Billy on a winning side made a couple of significant changes. Okay, now what Laurie did, he thought, oh look, it was only, like I said, only goal kicks. We nearly got him at the end. We scored more tries. I'll stick to what we got. And I don't think that did him any favours.
False sense, maybe.
And Laurie was so strong on playing loyalty card, copying Queensland, what Queensland used to talk about all the time. It didn't work. There are a couple of players in that side I would remove next year.
Yeah, but after game 2, who would you have changed? It's different now after game 3.
After game 2, there were plenty to change because we were so bad in that first half.
Yeah.
Well, let's get back to Cleary, because a lot of, I'm actually feeling for him today, because as much as it wasn't one of his better performances at all, he tried his heart out, and I know he'd be hurting, and I've been in that position before. It's awful. A lot of people have been highly critical of him today and questioning his performance and even his future in the in Origin. What do you guys think? Is
I'd
he a
never-
walk-up start next year?
Yeah, I think he is. I think the bloke's just an out-and-out champion. He was... When we talk about how bad New South Wales were, that first half was as good, and I know Queensland have had better players, Meninga, Miles, Shearer, all these guys, but no one has perfected 40 minutes of football and held in the intensity of Origin, not made one mistake like that Queensland side did.
Yeah.
So that gives them momentum. That makes it very hard for New South Wales. There's nothing doing in broken play. Look, Cleary was really disappointing. He spoke about that, but no way would I be sacking a man of his class. He's won 3 series. He's played 17 Origin games at halfback. I think he deserves another crack.
I think you've got to give him enormous credit, Buzz, for fronting up and addressing. He did not dodge one interview after the game last night, and he knew that all the questioning was going to be about the final frontier. You're now 8 and 9 in the starting number 7 jumper. We spoke to him in the lead up to the game about it on this show, and he addressed it. He said that he was aware of it, and it was something that he did want to conquer. That gave me, as a Blues supporter, that actually gave me quite a lot of confidence. You can't pin it all on Nathan, but I think the combination of Nathan with Mitch Moses worked so well in game 1, and we just saw Mitchell's all-round kicking game, direct running style. That worked brilliantly for New South Wales in last year's series and in the opening game this year. So
The kicking game cost us in games 2 and 3.
well, what was
over the
Nathan's
series.
normally such a
But he can't
judicious
kick. So like
pinpoint.
his
Hang on,
groin
don't
must
act-
be written. No, but his groin must be really sore because everybody said he didn't have a running game. The last couple of years, his running game's been sublime. That's what's got him all those moments. But he wasn't.
Well, he ran the ball plenty good. He just didn't have any time or space because the Maroons suffocated him with that umbrella.
That's
defence on
where we
their
needed
edges.
to adjust. And I showed it before. We didn't adjust until the second half, and even then, because they were so far ahead and they were so up for it, we were closer, but we were a lot better. But it was too late, And the same thing happened in game 2. We adjusted in the second half. You can't be adjusting in second halves at Origin. Like
Not when you've had 20 points put on you in the first 40.
You just can't.
I think he deserves to be there next year. Not so sure about his position in the Australian side.
I don't think anyone's saying sack him.
No.
It's just it is becoming a little bit of an issue for us, or not, in the halves.
No, I think it's warranted, and I think it's totally warranted, the fact that it's being discussed and that he accepts it as a criticism. Nathan's spoken personally about that last night. He said, I know what's coming and I understand.
Yeah.
I'll
So
wear it.
you don't think the halves are an issue? You think it's fine?
As I said at the start, I'm not sure about Luai, and I hope Moses is back next year, but I think...
So is Luai gone then?
I would think so. That 7-tackle kick he gave him, it was a terrible kick. I don't even know why they went to the left side then and let him kick instead
If
of
they're
Cleary.
picking an Australian team now, who's your
Well,
half?
Tom Dearden's the half and the 5'8's Cameron Munster. It has to be.
Yeah, have to be
Has to
after
be.
the way they played in this series.
Providing they hold form and when the Kangaroos go away, and as I said before, Munster and Isaiah Yeo will be an interesting call for the captaincy. Tom Dearden has to be... You can't win a Wally Lewis medal, do everything he did, not be made Australian halfback. There was no point having an interstate series if you're just going to kick that form out. And the Cowboys are struggling. He mightn't play finals, but he'd be my half on what I've seen.
So moving forward for New South Wales, it's Cleary and Moses, and hopefully Moses is fit for next year, and that's kind of the halves, isn't it?
I think so. Until the Katoas come through, until Stranger's ready, I think they will be a wonderful
What if
5'8".
Katoa's flying next year? He's had another year under his belt. He comes out and just we're in awe of his performances for the first couple of months of the year. What happens there?
I reckon I'd, given the way that Billy Slater dropped Daly Cherry Evans in this year's series, he might be prepared to make a hard decision if he was in.
He might
those
give Cleary
shoes.
game 1, then decide, same as Slater did.
It's interesting, isn't it?
It is.
So now you're sacking Cleary.
No,
joking, I'm joking.
I'm not, and I've
joking,
defended him, and I've put him on a pedestal higher than most because of 4 straight titles and 5 straight grand
And he
finals.
deserves to be there.
He does.